Stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Reverend Bill Barnes.
What's left of it? Will you pray with me, please? We grow still to know that you are God. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on us. Renew us in your love and justice. We thank you for allowing us to be stewards of a portion of your creation as we seek to bless all of your children, not just some. We're aware that we don't always get it right, so we rely on your forgiveness and the gift of new beginnings. Now, as we move into an agenda for the evening, filling it as we do with truth that was revealed to Micah in these words: what does the Lord require of you, O mortal, but to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your Creator God? And the people of God said, amen. One more time, the people of God said, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I neglected to say that Reverend Barnes is the guest of Councilmember Ronnie Stein this evening. Without objection, we're going to suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the approval of our minutes from our July 2nd meeting? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you very much. On your desk, you will find a proposed rule change that we will be voting on at our next meeting. We have two presentations tonight. The first one is by Councilmember Frank Harrison.
Move right there. Right here. Let Frank get in the middle there. There you go.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. And ladies and gentlemen of the council, it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here to present this resolution tonight on behalf of Council Lady Edith Taylor Lankster, who is convalescent at home, and I know that we all wish her well and a speedy recovery. This resolution will go to Mr. Jack Cawthon on her behalf. We all know Jack. He's a friend of the community. He's a leader in our community. And not only does he do that, but he also dwells on historical things in our community, which he has done at this particular time, which is why we're presenting this resolution on his behalf. This resolution proclaims the corner of McMillan Street and Charlotte Avenue as Governor's Corner. Governor's Corner. Whereas the property located at the corner of McMillan Street and Charlotte Avenue is owned by Nashville restaurateur Jack Cawthon, who will be soon opening up the third Jack Cawthon barbecue restaurant at 1601 Charlotte Avenue, and whereas the corner property was part of an old prison ground dating back in the early 1800s, whereas the name Governor's Corner was chosen in honor of Governor William Carroll, who was in office when the prison opened in 1831, and Governor Benton McMillan, who closed the prison in 1898. And whereas respected community leader Mr. Cawthon is a Nashville's very own barbecue king and is well known for his award-winning barbecue sauces, whereas he has spent the last 37 years perfecting his recipes while building one of the most recognized brands in Nashville. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council proclaim the naming of the corner, McMillan Street and Charlotte Avenue, as Governor Corners. And so we resolve this in the Metro Council. Jack, would you like to have a word, please?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Members of the council, Vice Mayor, and ladies and gentlemen, not only do I promote Nashville as a barbecue destination, but I'm a huge fan of Nashville history. By the council giving this corner a name, Governor's Corner, we now can actually tell people where the old prison grounds were during the 1800s. Come see a commissioned art piece at the restaurant by Justin Simsick that displays the story of the prison, and it's displayed there at the restaurant. Come see it. I would like to thank my lady Councilman Edith Langsford. She is a rock for the 21st District. I'm sorry she can't be here tonight with us. Also, we'd like to thank the co-sponsor, Karen Johnson. I would like to thank Frank Harrison for presenting this on her behalf. And also, I would like to say special thanks to the man right beside me, former Councilman Doc Haddix. He owned a very important piece on that corner, and if we hadn't have got the house, we couldn't be here tonight. So thank you, Doc. I'd like to thank Ludy Wallace for his support. I'd like to thank my son Jay and all the supporters of Jack's Barbecue here tonight. And in closing, I would like to say that Jack Cawthon Barbecue is happy to be a part of the community, and we are just a part of the continuation of the great things that's going to happen on Charlotte Avenue in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. The next presentation will be offered by Council Member Sandra Moore.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Could I have the students who I'm honoring this evening to come and stand behind me, and also their parents who are here as well, and also Ms. Marilyn Robinson and Lethea Mann as well. Could y'all please come forward, and as well as the Education Committee. This is a resolution recognizing those students who participated in the Youth Entrepreneurship Spring Internship Program. The Nashville Minority Business Center hosted the Youth Entrepreneurship Internship Program, which introduces young people to the principles of entrepreneurism and teaches them the fundamentals of starting a small business. Marilyn Robinson and Lethea Mann are exceptional motivators and mentors who operate the Nashville Minority Business Center, and the inaugural class of the Youth Entrepreneurship Spring Internship Program was piloted in Nashville, Tennessee, January 2013. The promise that lies at the heart of America, that if you have a good idea and work hard enough, the American dream is within your reach, and the Youth Entrepreneurship Spring Internship Program helps students unlock and develop the individual and collective entrepreneurial creativity for pursuit of their dreams. The students that were a part of this first program, I'm going to try to call you all's names now, so if I messed up, just let me know. Wave your hand to some of the other council members. Christopher Michael, Antioch High School, wave your hand if he's here. Furious Malik Wilhort, Brentwood Academy. Did I mess up your name, Furious? And I'm sorry, that's former Council Lady Will Hoyt's son. And is that Seneca Hockaday? Seneca? Sanika Hockaday and Arnold Knight from Cane Ridge High School. Alondra Hawkins, East Magnet High School. Sydney Alexa Pritchard and Terria Wilhoit and David Wilson, Hume Fogg High School. Brandon Jones, Hunters Lane High School. And Olivia Charlene Holt, Maplewood High School. And Joshua McDonald, Dr. Martin Luther King Magnet High School. And Nina Christian Diggs, Mount Juliet High School. This program is committed to serving and providing assistance to teenagers, 9th through 12th graders, in preparing a personal business and financial plan, as well as use the study and life guide objectives from JA Economics for Success and Ethics, which explores personal finance and education, ethics, and career options based on skills, interests, and values. It is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes the Youth Entrepreneurship Spring Internship Program for the great services it provided and continues to provide the youth of the city of Nashville. I hereby go on recognizing these students who participate in the Youth Entrepreneurship Spring Internship Program. And this copy of this resolution is to be presented to Marilyn Robinson, Lethea Mann, and the students who participate in the Youth Entrepreneurship Spring Internship Program. This resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the wherefore of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County inquiring is signed under my hand, Sandra Moore. Thank you all so much. And I did go to the program. Did you want to say something, Marilyn? Okay. Okay. One of the parents is going to speak right quick? Okay.
Okay. Well, I've been volunteered to speak by former Council Lady Will Hoyt, who is at a loss for words, if you can believe that. I would like to thank the distinguished elected officials, Council Lady Moore, who is always supportive of our youth, Lethea Mann, Marilyn Robinson, and all of the parents, and most especially our students, because they actually committed from January until June, every Saturday of every month, to not only start but successfully complete these business plans. So my applause to all of you all, because this is our phenomenal future. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'd like to also acknowledge Representative Karen Camper, who was the instrument that instituted this program, and we really appreciate all that she done to provide this opportunity. So as you see, I'm not too much lost for words. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. A few confirmations this evening. First, for the CATV Special Committee, we had both first-time appointments of Ms. Colleen Curtis and Mr. Cesar Muedas. The committee recommended both 7-4-0 against, and I'd like to move their approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
For the Emergency Communications District Board, also a first-time appointment, Mr. Grady McNeil. Committee recommended 7-4-0 against. I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
For the Board of Health, a reappointment, Mr. Sam Felker was recommended 7-4-0 against, and I'd also like to move his approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
For the MDHA Board, a first-time appointment, Ms. Antoinette Batts. Committee recommended 7-4-0 against, and I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
For the Sexually Oriented Business Licensing Board, first-time appointment, Ms. Tiffany Gray. Committee recommended 7-4-0 against, and I'll move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Stormwater Management Committee, tonight, reappointment, Mr. Lance Wagner. Committee recommended 7-4-0 against, and I'll move his approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Last one for the Metro Tourism and Convention Commission. First time appointment of Mr. Tom Druffel, and the committee recommended 8-4-0 against. And I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Colleen Curtis, Cesar Muendez, Grady McNeil, Sam Felker, Antoinette Bates, Tiffany Gray, Lance Wagner, and Tom Druffel. On behalf of the entire Metropolitan Council, thank you for your willingness to serve our great city. Without objection, I would like to take a bill out of order. It is a bill that is on third reading. BL 2013-487 establishes the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing, appropriates the initial funds for the Barnes Fund, and establishes the Metro Housing Trust Fund Commission. Is there any objection? Seeing none, Councilmember Matthews.
Having all committee reports in, I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Congratulations, Reverend Barnes. We're now at the resolutions on our consent agenda. It is RS 2013-767 through 783 and 784. I will read through these, and then you can advise me which ones may need to be pulled from the consent agenda. 767 appropriates $3,400,000 from the undesignated fund balance of the GSD General Funds to the Office of Emergency Management Grant Fund and the Police Department Impound Fund. 768 approves the issuance of taxable public facility improvement revenue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $15 million to finance the construction of a new hockey facility at Global Mall at the Crossings. 769 approves the issuance of taxable public improvement revenue refunding bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $47 million. 770 appropriates $2,150,000 to 28 nonprofit organizations selected to receive funding through the Community Enhancement Grants. 771 authorizes a third amendment to the Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds designated for recovery needs resulting from the May 2010 flood. 772 approves an application for a juvenile accountability block grant from the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth to the Juvenile Court. 773 approves an annual grant from the State Department of Transportation to the Davidson County Sheriff's Office for litter and trash pickup along roads and highways and litter prevention education. 774 approves an amendment to the pay plan for the general employees of metropolitan government to clarify the calculation for the hourly rate for salaried employees. 775 approves a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to Metro Social Services Commission for meal delivery services, congregate meal sites, and transportation. 776 approves a second amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and United Neighborhood Health Services to provide health care services at the downtown clinic. 777 approves a grant from the State Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start Home Visiting Program. 778 approves a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the Metro Board of Health to provide services to prevent for pregnant and parenting women. 779 approves a clinical affiliation agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Belmont University to provide clinical experience to students enrolled in the undergraduate nursing program. 780 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and the Center for Refugees and Immigrants of Tennessee to provide a mobile location for women, infants, and children recipients. 781 approves a clinical affiliation agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Columbia State Community College to provide clinical experience to students enrolled in the veterinary technology program. 782 approves an application for a grant from the Rotary Club of Tennessee to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation, working in partnership with all the King's Men to construct a pavilion at Watkins Park. 783 authorizes Pub 5 to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 104 Fifth Avenue South. And 784 recognizes Margaret Young on the occasion of her retirement. Do any of these need to be pulled? Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull 771 for consideration of an amendment.
Councilmember Matthews.
Madam Vice Mayor, I don't need to pull any item, but on 770, Councilmember Tigert asked a question in Budget and Finance Committee about how many total applicants there were for the Community Enhancement Fund, and there were a total of 43 applicants. And I just wanted him to have that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are pulling 771, so if you have a committee report on that one, you can hold it. But I will call on the committee chairs now for those on the consent agenda. Councilmember Matthews.
For the items on the consent agenda, on 767, Budget and Finance voted 9-4-0 against. For the remaining items, we voted 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Weiner.
Hello. Thank you, Vice Mayor. For all of the items on the consent agenda, we voted 7-4-0 against.
Thank you. Who is handling parks? Okay. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On RS 2013-782 and BL 2013-503, Parks and Recreation voted 5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Banks.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On Resolution 2013-774, Personnel Committee approved 6-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning, Zoning, and Historic Committee voted 8-0 to approve 2013-783.
Thank you. Councilmember Bennett.
Yes, ma'am. Public Safety approved 773, 740 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works voted to approve RS 2013-783, 940 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Rules approved all on consent 740 against. I'd like to move approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll now go back to RS 2013-771, authorizes a third amendment to the Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds designated for recovery needs resulting from the May 2010 floods. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The amendment was presented to committee reports. For the amendment,
Councilmember Matthews.
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance voted to approve without the amendment, 10-4-0 against.
Thank you. Federal Grants Committee report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Federal Grants voted to approve the bill without the amendment, 4-0.
And move.
I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second for approvals. Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate this time. I wanted to draw to the attention of this body and let you to think back to 2010 when this city was hit
you have a
heavily with
motion?
floods. I have a motion that we move my amendment, or the amendment for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman?
I'm sorry. And I want to be very clear that based on the management information at that time, the departments made the right decisions, and I'm going to explain that. 2010, we had a heavy amount of flooding. The administration had already announced that the fairgrounds would be closing in December of 2010. Metro's General Services was given the task and responsibility of assessing the Metro facility flood damages, for obtaining cost estimates and scheduling approval for repairs. At that time, they were instructed to repair only the things absolutely necessary to continue operations through December 2010 at the fairgrounds, which, based on the information that they have, that would be a warranted decision. The following items were not repaired, and no estimates were ever made. The repair for RV camping hookups, water, sewer, electrical, which resulted in a revenue loss for the fairgrounds. Repair vehicle traffic bridge over Browns Creek. One bridge is totally out. This has resulted in safety concerns, traffic jams, both incoming when we have the heavy flea markets as well as trying to get off-site. Repair paving at 5 points parking areas, ADA areas and bus roads. The repair the pits area and the restroom and electrical building. We still are operating with a makeshift plywood structure. And to replace the pits entrance building, which was completely destroyed. This totals approximately $1 million. A lot of this money is into CIB right now, but this is flood repair work that we're asking for this flood mitigation money to go to the fairgrounds for these repairs. This past weekend, we had 11,000 people at the fairgrounds. Nowhere else in the city were 11,000 people gathered for an event. 72% of the people that voted on the referendum to keep the fairgrounds. Remember that. Remember that they want to keep the fairgrounds. This is a way for us to take the federal flood money and invest it in something that the people of Nashville want to keep, and invest it in a positive way that's documentable, and it's the only way the money can be spent. I want to thank you, and I want to ask for your approval.
Councilmember Dominic.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Cooper, it's my understanding that there is additional flood mitigation funds available through request or amendment outside of this particular resolution.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question exactly. Are you saying funds that have been awarded to Metro outside of the Community Development Block Grant Program?
Are there funds that were set aside from flood damage or flood mitigation through FEMA that would be available through a separate request should this body or the MDHA do so?
Through FEMA, I'm not sure. The window has probably passed for claims from FEMA, but I don't know that for sure. As far as the Community Development Block Grant funds, in order to access those funds for projects at the fairgrounds, you would either need to amend this resolution or try and go through the process of getting another amendment to the plan for those funds to be submitted, approved by MDHA and submitted to the federal government. I don't know if any of those other funds would qualify or not.
Based on what you just stated, we would either need to amend this one or file an additional amendment to the block grant funds. Is that correct?
Yeah, to the plan that's submitted to the government for funding. And like I said, I don't know if any of those other funds that have been allocated for other projects, if there's any available funding or not, but that would be the process. And then you would go through the public comment period, and then the last step before going to the federal government would be council approval.
And that would take some time to do, and it would be dependent upon what the federal government might decide to do as well.
That's correct.
If we were to pass this amendment, it would still have to go through a review process with the federal government, correct?
Right. You would have to go through the public comment period here locally. It would then go to the federal government, and they would conduct a review and determine whether the projects at the fairgrounds are eligible for funding with this money.
Well, I intend to support this particular resolution because you've stated we need to either amend this one or do a separate one. In the event this one is not amended, I would hope that my colleagues would support the additional legislation filed to request those funds outside of this one in the event this amendment does not pass. But I hope my colleagues would support that. I ask for your support for this. As John has stated, we need to either amend the one we have before us now, and as I would point out to some of my colleagues earlier, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. We may not get it if we ask it as a secondary or separate amendment to this particular block grant program. We may not get it if we amend this one, but I'd say please pass it and support what the voters have asked us to do.
Councilmember Garrett.
Well, Madam Vice Mayor, I would just like for the committee report on the amendment to be presented by the chairman, please.
Councilmember Matthews.
The Budget and Finance Committee voted 0 for and 10 against on the amendment itself.
Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Federal Grants Committee voted 0 for the amendment and 4 against it.
Thank you. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember Bedney.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I was going to ask along the lines of what Councilman Domini asked, and I think we all are, concerned about what happens on the fairgrounds, but we don't want to delay the need of the $7 million and delay that process any further. I mean, if we were to pass this amendment, it will delay the process of because it will kick in the review. So what I would suggest is if anybody wanted to sponsor legislation that will seek that money independently of the one that we are discussing, that will be a more appropriate way because it would, like I say, wouldn't delay the use of the money that is set up. So even though I'm supportive of the idea of doing something on the fairgrounds, I don't want to further delay the use of that money. Thank you.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Cooper, are there any timeline issues, since we're 3 years down the road here, are there any timeline issues on using this money or requesting this money for flood repairs?
Well, if this amendment passed and it was submitted to the federal government, given the duration between the flood and the time of submission, that would trigger an in-depth review from HUD, and they would want to make an inquiry as to whether other funds were sought at the time, and if not, why. They would want to know how the projects at the fairgrounds fit in with the long-term recovery plan. And so they would go through a series of questions basically and would not allow use of the funds until those questions were answered to their satisfaction. Whether the time would certainly trigger that inquiry, but I don't know what the final determination would be.
Councilmember Tenpenny.
Good.
Okay, we're now voting on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no.
No.
The amendment fails. We're back on the original bill. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on second reading. BL 2013-476 amends the Metro Code. I'm so sorry. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Is there a motion for do any of them need to be pulled? Is there a motion for their approval? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the bills on first reading, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now BL 2013-476 amends the Metro Code pertaining to the regulation of booting services. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Traffic and Parking approved this 6-4 and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd move the substitute at this time.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes.
I'd move as substituted, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the bill as substituted, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-498 amends the Metro Code to establish a community garden grant program. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee report.
Councilmember Bedning.
I'm sorry. This passed 3-4-0 against.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance passed 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Tiger.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-499 amends the Metro Code pertaining to the membership composition of the Community Education Commission. Councilmember Stein.
Committee report.
Councilmember Bedning.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. It passed 3-4-0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Stein.
Move approval with a very brief comment.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman Stein.
Members of the council, this simply amends the ordinance that created the new Community Education Commission in 2009. Council still retains the approval and the recommendation and the approval of 3 members. What we're doing is taking away the stipulation that they represent specific groups. We've had at least one vacancy on a council appointment for a year and a half because we couldn't identify someone from those groups. So we are simply maintaining our ability to name people to this commission, but we're doing away with the fact they have to come from a specific organization. And I ask your approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-500 amends the Metro Code to allow beer distributors to have 2 places of business within the area of Metro government under certain circumstances. Councilmember Stein.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Bennett.
Public Safety approved, 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Stein.
I move approval and I move the substitute.
We have a motion on the substitute and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes.
I move the bill as substituted.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-501 names Fire Station Number 9 in honor of Robert Bobby Glenn Conley. Councilmember Jernigan.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Rules Committee approved 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Bennett.
Public Safety approved, 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Jernigan.
Thank you. With those approvals, I move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is approved. BL 2013-502 relinquishes the Metro government's interest in the former West Nashville Police Precinct property located on Charlotte Pike. Councilmember Baker.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance voted to approve as substituted, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic Committee voted to approve 8-0.
Councilmember Baker.
I'd like to move the substitute and ask for approval.
We have a motion on the substitute and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman Baker.
Move approval.
We have a motion on the bill as substituted and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-503 approves an agreement with Global Mall Partnership for the exchange of property located at the former Hickory Hollow Mall site. Councilmember Dow.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved, 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved, 8-0.
Councilmember Allen.
Parks approved 5-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Dow.
I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-504 authorizes Metro government to enter into a participation agreement with Patel Memorial Institute to investigate the performance of sewer rehabilitation liners. Councilmember Matthews.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve, 9-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance voted to approve, 10-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-505 authorizes the acquisition and acceptance of right-of-way easements, construction easements, and other property rights at Riverside Drive and McGavock Pike intersection. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved, 8-0.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve, 9-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Davis.
I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-506 abandons the water and sewer easement rights that were retained by ordinance number 082-1047 when a portion of the 50th Avenue North right-of-way was abandoned on property located at 4915 Louisiana Avenue. Councilmember Baker.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved, 8-0.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve, 9-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-507 abandons water and sewer mains and associated easements and accepts replacement mains on property located at 2500 Charlotte Avenue for construction of the new Lentz Public Health Center. Councilmember Potts.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Matthews.
Budget and Finance approved, 10-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic approved, 8-0.
Councilmember Potts.
Public Works voted to approve, 9-4, 0 against. I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-353 changes .26 acres from RS10 to SP zoning for property located at 316 Tansley Avenue to permit accessory vehicle parking and storage building. Councilmember Tenpenny.
Yes, ma'am. I move to defer one meeting.
We have a motion and a second for a one-meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-468 applies a historic landmark overlay district to .87 acres of property located at 305 Kent Road. Councilmember Stanley.
Committee report.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted to approve, 8-0.
Councilmember Stanley.
I move approval with a couple of brief comments.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Stanley.
I want to thank the Metro Historical Commission and also the state of Tennessee and the Metro Council tonight for supporting this historic landmark overlay. Of course, this historic landmark overlay is going to be placed on the McCampbell House. That house was built in 1804. It's 209 years old. It's one of the oldest structures, man-made structures in Middle Tennessee. And when it was built, when it was completed, the state of Tennessee was only 8 years old. But McCampbell House is still right there in the middle of Donaldson Heights subdivision. Donaldson Heights subdivision was built in 1947. It's the sixth oldest subdivision in the Donaldson community out of 77 subdivisions. So I think it's important that this piece of property, which was willed to the state by the last private owner, be preserved as a historic structure, and also this historic landmark overlay will place certain restrictions on the development and operational tactics that'll be used from this house. And it can enhance the surrounding properties as well as the surrounding area. So I'm very appreciative of them. I'm also appreciative of Councilman Jernigan in his role as a state representative for being at the community meeting we had on June the 27th. So I ask for approval at this time. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-469 changes .54 acres from RS 7.5 and CN to SP zoning for properties located at 132 and 134 46th Avenue North to permit up to 3 single-family residential units and an office, restaurant, and/or retail uses. Councilmember Holloman.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic voted 8-0 to defer one meeting at the sponsor's request.
Councilmember Holloman.
Move to defer one meeting.
We have a motion and a second for a one-meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-470 changes .26 acres from R6 to RS5 zoning for property located at 500 South 15th Street. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic approved 8-0.
Councilmember Westerholm.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-471 changes 3.8 acres from R6 to SP zoning for a portion of property located at 6734 Charlotte Pike to permit an office development. Councilmember Baker.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic voted to approve 8-0.
Councilmember Baker.
I'd like for Mr. Cooper to explain the housekeeping on this amendment.
It reduces the size of the property being rezoned from 3.8 acres to 3.629 acres. This matches the actual description of the property. There was a discrepancy in the early version of the bill.
I move approval.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes.
I'd like to move the bill.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as substituted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-472 changes 16.22 acres from R10 to IWD zoning for a portion of property located at 3301 Knight Drive. Councilmember Hunt.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic approved 8-0.
Councilmember Hunt.
Move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-473 changes 1.3 acres from SP to MUGA zoning for properties located at 1204 and 1206 Brick Church Pike and at 40 Evergreen Avenue. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic voted 8-0 to defer by rule.
Councilmember Harrison.
Without any objection, I'd like to use the council as a whole to approve this, please.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules? Seeing none, Councilmember.
Then I'd like to ask for approval for this.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2013-474 changes 10.37 acres from IG to MUIA zoning for properties located at 400 Davidson Road. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning Zoning Historic voted to defer 2 meetings at the sponsor's request.
Councilmember Westerholm.
Move to move 2 meetings.
We have a motion and a second to defer 2 meetings. All in favor? Councilman Holloman?
I'm sorry, I just want to be recorded as abstaining. I know it's a deferral, but
Okay.
thank you.
So noted. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2013-475, changes 1.53 acres from R6 to SP zoning for properties located at 1800, 1802, 1804, 1806, 1808, 1810, 1812, and 1814 Rosa L. Parks Boulevard, and at 1811B, 1813A, and 1813B 7th Avenue North to permit up to 24 detached single-family dwellings. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Planning, Zoning, Historic voted to approve 8-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Westerholm.
I believe there's an amendment. Move to bring up the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes.
I'd like to move the bill as amended.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the bill as amended, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2013-488. Approves a lease agreement between Metro Government and Grace's Plaza Limited for space located at 4005 Hillsborough Pike for the county clerk. Councilmember McGuire.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committees having reported, I'd move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. All in favor, please say aye.